Wishing you the happiest of holidays from our family to yours.
Your official holiday station.
Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Okay. And good morning, good afternoon. You're here live with Dr. Jeff Werber, here, your host for the next 30 minutes on Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. We're here for you. We want to hear from you. Any questions you may have. We want to hear how your Thanksgiving was. Anyway, give me a call at 877-385-8882. Once again, 877-385-8882. Or better yet, join us here live on Google Hangouts. Very easy to do. You go on to petliferadio.com, click on under shows, Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff, and you'll see a box as you scroll down, and there's a very long Google Hangouts link. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to do anything except click on it. Very easy, and you can join us here live to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I do want to talk about one of the effects often of Thanksgiving and holidays coming up, and we're going to talk about it in the second half of the show, and that is a subject that is probably near and dear to me, but you guys don't like it. Your dogs hate it. Your cats hate it. That's vomiting. And the reason is that it's one of those symptoms that probably has more reasons for it happening than almost any other symptom that we see. And it is probably the most misunderstood. And from your perspective as pet parents, probably the one of the most frightening. And it doesn't necessarily have to be. So we're going to talk about that. And a lot of mistakes that people make when it comes to vomiting and the fear and what they're doing about it, et cetera. So if you have any questions about your vomiting pet, why they vomit, what happens, and what you should do about it if it happens at home at some weird hour, and more importantly, what you shouldn't do about it. So anyway, we'll talk about that second half of the show. Once again, I like to go through just some news items. I guess maybe because of Thanksgiving week, the AVMA took a little time off, but I didn't see many new posts, but I did see a few that kind of struck my fancy. Number one, which is no surprise to any of us who are animal fanatics, and that is that pet ownership continues to climb. Now, 57% of all households in the United States. This is a survey that completed in 2016. The whole thing was just published and all the data was collected. So just so you know, it's even more this past year in 2017, but 57% of all households had pets. 38% owned one or more dogs. Cats was a close second with about 25% of the households. But it was interesting. It's also what they call exotic or specialty pets. For example, I'll read the list. And in no particular order, just so you know, but what are becoming continually popular: fish, ferrets, rabbits, hamsters. I'm one of those. I'm in that statistic. Guinea pigs, gerbils, turtles, snakes, lizards, poultry, livestock, and amphibians. So there were more than 13% of households in 2016, which is up 25% from 2011. And the average dog owner visits the veterinarian 3 times a year. In my opinion, that's probably not enough, but they do it anyway. And the cat is not far behind at 2.4 times per year. So, and those are definitely up because the number for cats used to be like 1.8. So, and so 3 times a year. But I mean, it's good from a statistic standpoint to know, as we veterinarians, as we are, determining costs and what we need to have and how many times we're going to see a patient, how often we should send reminders, just to know that 3 times a year is pretty much the standard, the average. And, I actually thought it was going to be higher. I know let's put it this way. There are more households in America that have pets than there are with children. So, it always boggles my mind when it's so difficult to get some real media attention when it comes to our pets, when there are more pets in the U.S. than there are kids. There are more households have pets than they have kids. And and yet, there's so much, kids this and kids that and commercials and stuff about kids. I mean, the way I got actually in the media years and years and years ago was because there were no like public service announcement. There were public service announcements about cancer and self-examination and smoking, and you never saw a PSA, a public service announcement, when it came to pets. And I went to the AVMA, which is very slow to move. And I told them that I'm out in California, and I practice in Los Angeles, and I have some clients that are agents and in media, and they could help if you were interested. I'd be happy to help. I could help write things and whatever. And I got I was a new graduate at the time, and I got this very condescending, "Sure, Sonny, but we got you covered. We're taking care of it." "Oh, great!" I said, "That's fantastic. If you need any connections, let me know." I waited and waited and waited and waited some more, and zero zilch. And I finally said, "You know something, guys, screw you. I am going to do it myself." And I wrote a video series, which ended up, through the luck of one of these friends of mine who was an agent at CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and got me a little guest spot on a then syndicated talk show called Hour Magazine. And I did the segment. They wanted to talk about the video series, and I didn't really want to talk about the video series because I felt it was kind of like an author. When an author writes a book and they're on one of those morning shows, when do they get to come back on? When they write their next book. Well, I wasn't planning on doing another video series. So I needed to come up with some way that maybe I can do this and have it sort of be a little more lasting, so I can get some good information out there. So I said, well, who is Gary Collins was the host and the co-host that day. Some of you might chuckle if you remember him. Some of you probably have never even heard of him. His name was Dom DeLuise. And Dom DeLuise was a comedian, and he was huge. I mean, for lack of a better term, we'll just say obese. But he used to joke about his weight all the time. I thought, oh my God, how perfect. If Dom DeLuise, who's funny and has no shame about his size, then likes to talk about it, why don't we talk about obesity? So I said, you know what? Why don't we do a segment on obesity? And it would be, it'd really be cool to talk about that, because it's the #1 nutritional disease affecting pets. So I bring on my very svelte, beautiful Labrador. Gary Collins had a kind of, I wouldn't say the lab was obese, but he was certainly overweight. And we did a segment on obesity. And with Dom DeLuise, it was really funny. At one point, I'm showing Gary how much food he should be eating. I mean, he should be feeding to his pet, his lab. And Dom DeLuise looks at the bowl and he goes, "But that's all she gets to eat?" And I go, "Yeah, that's what she's eating." He goes, "I'm not eating with her." So he just wanted to, he couldn't stand not eating. But anyway, the segment went really well. And sure enough, the producer came over and "This is exactly what I wanted," and says, "God, that was great." He says, "Would you like to do this again?" I said, "Yeah." So sure enough, I became the resident vet on that show. And then that's kind of how my media career snowballed. And I started from one show to another show to another show after that. But the bottom line is, there was not enough information. And now we're getting more and more. And look, even though I hate I shouldn't say I hate. I am concerned about Dr. Google. Because a lot of the information you get out there it's almost like those news pieces where they take something that's relatively simple and they sensationalize it and make it sound like, oh my God. And that's what happens in veterinary medicine. That's what happens in the news. So you read about a symptom, which is why I want to talk about vomiting at the end of the show. And you freak, you absolutely freak when they tell you all these things that it could be. And meanwhile, those are the esoteric, weird things. That's not the norm, and you don't have to freak. So, anyway, it's good that we are, have more pets, have more households. We are learning and seeing, and there are more shows on TV about pets and pet care, I think, which is great. So anyway, but I want to see that number up. I don't like 57%. I want 100% of households having pets. So that's our goal. We have to make sure that people start really, really embracing their pets. Next up, wintertime is coming. It's getting cold. Your dogs, the days are shorter. It's colder out there. And interestingly, dogs really kind of like something about the cold weather. And what it is that we know their noses are amazing. They have 40 times the nasal receptors that we have. We have about 5 million. They have 200 million. And they can smell things. They can smell individual things of things that we can't even smell the whole thing. I mean, it's amazing. So, anyway, during cold weather, with the cold and the dryness, it turns out that a lot of scents are in a sense that they are more accentuated. They're sharper for the dog. So they love walking around the snow and ice, sniffing things, because they can sniff even more, which is kind of cool. But actually, it's cold. But you got to be careful. What I recommend anytime is you're going to take your dog, spend more time outdoors, and they seem to like to go outdoors. If they're small or very short coated, let them wear a sweater. It's okay. It looks a little funny. They can be laughed at, but it'll keep them warm. They do lose a lot of their heat to the outdoor temperature when it's really cold. And also look for some booty, something to protect their feet, not only from the cold, but also from the de-icing chemicals and things they put on the snow, on the ice, on the sidewalks, on the streets, etc. And those can be very, very irritating to their feet. So you want to protect the paws as well. And this is really cool. I read this and I love these kinds of stories. And for those of you that are active in your animal welfare groups, organizations, or rescue groups, here's a good one. And that is that in Columbus, Ohio, there is a group, it's a nonprofit called Gigi's Shelter for Dogs. And what they do is they search around in their areas, so obviously state of Ohio for sure, any shelters that are very active, that have a lot of foot traffic, but maybe sometimes not as many dogs as they could use, they will pull dogs from shelters in smaller towns that don't have the foot traffic, where dogs are being euthanized because there's not enough, they're just not getting adopted. So they are basically doing doggy transfer, and they are feeding some of the busier shelters and pounds with dogs that are coming from areas where there's not enough traffic, not enough people adopting. So that's kind of cool. So they're evening out the playing field. So the busier shelters get more dogs, and the chances of being adopted are greater. And they've been very, very successful. So that's, when you think about how to sort of spread the wealth, if you will, that's a great way to do it. So my hat's off to Gigi Shelter for Dogs. And if you're in an area where there are basically a lot of people coming into shelters, sometimes the pickings are slim because of it, which is great. But let's get some dogs from other shelters where there are just too many dogs and there's not enough people coming through to look for them, or put a little pressure on your rescue groups, because what rescue groups do is they comb the shelters, and especially if they're sort of a breed or a size specific rescue group, they're looking for a particular dog, a particular cross of that dog. So they're going into the shelter. So if there was one story that I just saw the other day, which I told them my daughter is crazy about dogs, and she goes to the shelters. A German Shepherd, young, they found it roaming, has no ID, no nothing, no microchip, with a little bandage on its leg, like a cast. And they're saying that they need someone to they want to get this dog rescued. But either they're busy or they don't have the staff. They're not even going to check the leg. They don't even have a veterinarian associated with them who can at least take the bandage off. And bandages should not stay. They need to be checked weekly. You leave a bandage on a little too long, even 2 weeks, certainly more than 2 weeks. That might be a little too tight. You can take that bandage off, cut off the blood. The blood supply has been cut off. You didn't even know it, and you lose a leg. So it's very important that these bandages should be checked weekly. So anyway, if those are the kinds of stories. So if you see stuff like that and you think you can help in some way, shape, or form, go for it. Help, make a phone call, call your vet, call a shelter, call a local rescue group, and see if they can help. Anyway, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to talk about that fantastic subject. Oh, it's a cheerful subject of vomiting. So we'll be back after these short messages. Don't go away.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
What if you could protect the life of your cat with something so simple and affordable that you already use every day? Get ready for the evolution of kitty litter. It's Pretty Litter. Along with all the features you've come to expect from your kitty litter, Pretty Litter's patented and scientific formula will also monitor your cat's health and detect illnesses early while providing industry-leading odor control. 2 kitty litters, same cat, same price. But there's one important difference. Pretty Litter reacts to your cat's waste by detecting health issues simply by changing color. And the key is that Pretty Litter detects these issues before your cat shows symptoms of physical illness or pain, likely saving you major dollars in vet bills while protecting the health of your cat. What do you think, little guy? Ready to switch litter? Pretty Litter. Colorful insight into your cat's health.
Go to prettylittercats.com/cat101 or use coupon code CAT101 to get 20% off your first subscription order.
Put on a perfectly possum pet party. Having an awesome birthday or adoption day celebration for your four-legged friend? Or just want a fun excuse to throw a fun party with your friends from the dog park? Deck out your party with Molly and Bandit Pet Party accessories. Party products designed specifically for pets. There are wearables, including adjustable pet party hats, bow ties, and tutus. The photo prop kits include funny glasses and hats. The party supplies and decorations include coordinating table covers, party banners, cake decorations, and treat bowls, cups, and bags. Everything you need to create great memories and Instagram-worthy photos. They're available in 2 colorful themes, tropical and fireman. It's a dog's life. Celebrate it with Molly and Bandit Pet Party at mollyandbanditpetparty.com/petlife.
As a gift for her husband, Dana Gibson went to paintyourlife.com to have a portrait hand-painted of their beloved dog that they recently lost.
My reaction to this fine painting that I got from Dana was extraordinary. It just gave me butterflies in my stomach to see my beloved dog that I've had for years in such a lifelike picture.
This Christmas season, give someone you love an original painting done by hand from any photo at a price you can afford. A special person, your children, even a cherished pet, in a painting done by hand by a world-class artist at paintyourlife.com. Customer David Lax surprised his wife with an unforgettable anniversary gift from paintyourlife.com.
The gift was incredibly meaningful, from my dress to the suit to the landscape and the colors. It so closely matched the photo from our wedding day.
Don't wait, because right now, get 30% off your painting, plus free shipping. Just text the word LIFE to 484848. Order now to guarantee delivery for the holidays. Text LIFE to 484848. That's LIFE to 484848.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynovite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite.
Dynovite for life.
Pick up 2 tubes of Doggo Suds.
Get the 3rd tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Doggo Sud shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe. Great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Doggo Suds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's connect socially. Join the Pet Life Radio community to get the latest pet news, updates, and reviews. Connect with our show hosts and pet lovers socially on our Facebook and Twitter pages. You're just one click away. Find us at PetLifeRadio.com.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand, only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Okay. And welcome back. You're here live with Dr. Jeff Werber. And we're going to talk about vomiting. And, I do my own emergencies. I take my own calls all the time. As many of you know, I'm starting a Air Vet, which is a telemedicine, telehealth service for people it's actually for their pets, where we are working in conjunction with their vet hospitals just to provide veterinary care on those hours where your vets or either your hospital is closed or very too busy to see you, and you have concerns. And the truth is that when you run to those, well, let's get a basic fact: 80% of emergencies are not emergencies. So you don't know that. So if you call and your doctor can't see you, or it's in the middle of the night, what do? There's a machine that's on and says, "Hey, thanks for calling. We're busy. We're closed. If you need help, go to so-and-so critical care facility, emergency hospital." You go over there and you spend a small fortune for that which wasn't even an emergency. So one of the most common calls I get is vomiting. So, first of all, the vomiting is one thing. Well, there's some questions you need to ask yourself when you have a pet that's vomiting. First of all, you know your pets. What is the likelihood that they actually ate something that is bad or ate something that could get lodged in the intestine? number one. Number two, look at your dog. All right, look at your cat. Are they acting normally? Are they still, can they not wait till they get their next meal? Are they happy, running, alert, playful, active, eating? What's coming up? Is it food? Is it phlegm? Is it bile? Is it grass? Is it pieces of leaves? Well, if it is, then you can tell a lot from what they're throwing up. And if it's food, how long after the eating do they vomit? You know, if they vomit what looks like a full meal 10 hours after they ate, that's a problem. Then I'm thinking about some sort of obstruction that the stuff couldn't get through. If you see just yellow bile or phlegm, and the dog is running around and can't wait for its next meal or toy or whatever to play, then that's probably just like gastric reflux. That's an esophageal or gastric juices that are flowing, and it's almost like our heartburn. How about a dog who throws up something like grass or leaves? Well, clearly he ate grass or leaves, and guess what? They make him vomit. And if you offered him some more grass or leaves, he'd probably eat some more. And if you offered him food, he would eat it then again. So interestingly, most of the vomiting stuff that we see, all right, you have to look at the pet. If the pet is super happy, alert, playful, still their own behavior, their own everything, they can't wait to go out again, they're wagging their tail, then you probably have nothing to worry about. If they are infirm, they're old, and they haven't been eating for days, and now they're vomiting, then that's a problem. That's probably a metabolic disease we have to worry about. If you have a dog who's continually vomiting and spitting up and now dry heaving, and it's a large breed dog, and their belly is getting very large, almost like tympanic, like a drum, very large and firm. Now I'm concerned about bloat. That's an emergency. That's a medical emergency. You got to get them in right away. And they're hunched over. They look sad. They look like they're in pain. They're going to a corner and they're continually trying to spit up. Nothing's coming out. Well, at first something does, but then nothing. That's a sick dog. One of the best things to evaluate is just look at your pet. And if I had a dog come in the office, and it was vomiting a couple of times a week, and it's a French bulldog. So first of all, I know Frenchies. I have some. I see tons of Frenchies. And this dog, I couldn't get a good look at it because it was running around the room, jumping up and down, licking me in the face. I mean, this clearly not a sick dog, and yet vomiting several times a week. So I asked him questions. What's coming up? Oh, just yellow bile. It's like, when does it happen? Usually like late night, early morning. Oh yeah. It's usually in the middle of the night. We wake up to it. Is he still eating? Oh my God, he can't stop eating. So all these questions, and I knew my answer right away. I barely even had to put my hands on the dog. I didn't have to take an x-ray. I didn't have to take a blood test. I already knew the answer. And so that's why I'm concerned sometimes when these dogs are vomiting, and for whatever reason, and all you're thinking about is vomiting. You're not looking at the big picture. You're not starting to ask yourself, when was the last time my dog actually chewed up a plastic toy, or my cat ate yarn, or got into the garbage? If the answer is never, I've never seen him do that, then probably it's not that. So you know your own dog. Now, if you have a dog that eats everything all the time and is always getting into the garbage, now we have something called dietary indiscretion. He may have eaten something that is either lodged or more likely just something that just irritated his stomach. Now, let's talk about irritated stomach, and let's talk about one of the things that I often hear when I get a call is the dog is acting okay, maybe a little bit sluggish, but he's continuing. He's vomited like 5 times in the last couple of hours, and I'm thinking, okay, is he drinking? Oh my God, he's going to the water bowl, and I want to say, don't let him drink water. Vomiting breeds vomiting. Once that stomach goes through this vomiting episode, it's almost like taking a wet rag, and wringing it out. The inside of that stomach is so irritated now that anything that goes back in that stomach, even something as benign as water, could induce more vomiting. Anything that stretches that stomach wall is going to induce more vomiting. So now that second, third, and fourth vomiting may be totally related only to the first one and nothing new. And it's because the stomach is so irritated. So when I often ask a client comes in with the concern of vomiting, I will offer them, well, first of all, I asked if they're drinking water. If they do and they want to drink water, that's actually a good sign. Now, how about if I offer them something really tasty to eat? And I mean really tasty. I often give them a little baby food right out of the jar. If they attack my finger, that's a really good sign. Now, am I going to let them eat it? No way. But the fact that they want to eat, despite the vomiting, is really a good sign, because dogs that have more serious reasons for vomiting will turn their nose to filet mignon. They will not eat anything. That's how lousy they feel. And they're hunched over. Their body position indicates that they just really feel like crap. And those are the ones that probably need some more medical attention. So what I recommend, if you have a dog that's vomiting, evaluate your dog. Just sit back and watch him. How does he look? Is he running? Is he feeling does he seem like behaviorally he's normal? That's a good sign. Secondly, don't give him water. Take some ice cubes, depending on the size of the dog. It might be 1 ice cube for a small dog, 3, 4, 5 ice cubes for a big dog. Stick him the ice cubes in the water bowl. Why? Because unless you have a dog who loves to munch on ice cubes, which most don't, but some do, but for typically let the ice, they can't drink a lot of water at once when the water is in the form of an ice cube. So what they do is, as the ice melts and they're thirsty, they can go lap a little bit of water up at a time from the melted ice, but they can't get a whole large volume at once. Now, of course, one of the side effects that we worry about with extensive vomiting is dehydration. So they do need the fluids. And if we have to deliver fluids without getting through the gastrointestinal tract, we have to give it to them either sub-Q. If they're small, we can do that. Or, medium, large dogs really need it IV. Giving fluids, what we call subcutaneously, to a big dog probably is not going to be that effective. So the bigger the dog, the more likely they're going to need an IV. And then, of course, medication to stop the vomiting. And depending on what's coming up, how soon after eating, what their general demeanor is like, etc., will dictate, are we going to need x-rays to take a look and see if the history indicates a dog that, oh my God, yeah, doc, he eats everything. I think I told you a couple of weeks ago, I took a rock out of a dog. And if you want to go into my Instagram at Dr. Jeff Werber, you will see I did a little show with this dog who actually, his name is Louie, who actually ate a rock. And I'm not talking a small rock. How he even got it into his throat, into his stomach, I couldn't even believe it. So yes, some dogs eat crazy things. We call that pica, the eating of inanimate objects. And this dog did it. So with a history of a dog who eats things like that, then yes, of course, I'm going to take an x-ray. Then, of course, if they are dogs that are really just ADR, they just ain't doing right. They're sluggish. They're slow. They just look sad. And they have very tender belly. Then, of course, we're going to do blood work. I'm looking. There's so many, the organ failures cause vomiting. Liver disease causes vomiting. Pancreatitis is a huge one. That causes severe vomiting. Kidney disease, high BUN, blood urea nitrogen, that causes vomiting. So sometimes we have metabolic diseases that lead to vomiting, not necessarily just gastrointestinal, but even some of the extra abdominal organs are when they are inflamed, when they are irritated, when they are affected, when they are infected, they can also cause vomiting. So it's one of those symptoms that there are so many potential reasons. Some need extensive workup, extensive treatment, and some simple as keep them away from it, feed them a late night snack. After the episode, don't let them drink a ton of water. And these are the things that will kind of guide you so you don't panic and kind of, as I said, really evaluate the big picture. Anyway, that's about all we have time for today. We will be here. If you have any subject, medical subject, something your pet is going through, whether it's a disease like just had a diabetes case come in this week, that you just want more information, maybe some help how to treat it, maybe some guidance of even what tests to use to diagnose, because you're getting bombarded by your veterinarian who's just saying, oh my God, we need just $2,000 worth of tests. Oh my God, he vomited. We have to do an MRI. No. So if you just pick my brain, what's left of it anyway, and we'll help you get through some of these things that oftentimes are more simple than they seem. Have a great week. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and we will be here next Sunday, same time, same channel here on Pet Life Radio. And until then, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.